When Vinicius Junior finally arrived at Real Madrid in 2018, a year after agreeing a €46 million switch which made him the most expensive 18-year-old ever, Los Blancos felt they had finally laid the ghost of Neymar to rest. Having missed out on the Santos superstar in 2013, they had scoured Brazil for young talent, and swooped for Vinicius just weeks after his first team debut, overpaying to ensure they would not lose out to Barcelona or Manchester City, who had beaten them to Gabriel Jesus the previous summer. But things hardly went to plan. The youngster worked hard off the ball and had electric pace, but little power or finesse to make the most of it, and Goal reported that at half-time of Real Madrid's 2-2 draw with Borussia Mönchengladbach in October 2020, Karim Benzema was caught by TV cameras bad-mouthing his strike partner, telling Ferland Mendy, "Brother, don't pass the ball to him. On my mother's life, he's playing against us." His sentiments seemed to be shared by the club hierarchy, as just 3 months later in January 2021, reports linked the former Flamengo man with a loan to Arsenal, and it seemed that in their haste not to miss out, Real Madrid had made a costly error, bringing in a player who would never have the on-ball quality to fit into the first 11, and was better off shining at a lower level. So imagine our surprise that 2 months into the current campaign, the youngster has established himself as the second most important player at the Bernabeu, making the left-wing position his own and prompting El Chiringuito, always masters of understatement, to claim they wouldn't swap him for Kylian Mbappe. But what has changed to revive the wide man's career in Spain? How has Carlo Ancelotti given Vinicius his future back? Let's find out. Carlo Ancelotti is a great coach, but the Italian could hardly be described as a risk-taker, and was brought in to steady the ship at a time of upheaval in global football. So it should come as no surprise that his initial lineups on his return to the Bernabeu dugout seemed like a throwback to 2016. Relying on old hands Modric and Casemiro in midfield, Ancelotti's skills as a peace broker were apparent as he brought Isco back into the fold and deployed maligned veterans Eden Hazard and Gareth Bale on the flanks, in a front line with an average age of 32. In fact, the whole setup spoke of a trust in experience over promise, with Eder Militao and Fede Valverde the only players under 29 to start either of Real's first 2 fixtures. In such a situation, squad players have to take their chances, and after scoring in a 25-minute sub-appearance against Alaves, Vinicius was given 32 minutes the following week and once again delivered, netting a brace to help the club come from behind twice and salvage a draw against 10-man Levante. The next week he started, and since then he's missed just 20 minutes of game time, and looks a different player to the wasteful and inconsistent man seen under Zinedine Zidane. In the 3 seasons before Ancelotti returned to the Bernabeu, Vinicius put up underwhelming goal tallies, hitting just 8 strikes in 43 league appearances, and even if you factor in assists, his best return was in 2020-21, when he produced 6 goal involvements in nearly 2,000 league minutes. More worryingly, it seemed like his finishing might be the problem, as he netted fewer than expected goals would have predicted in each campaign, overall costing his side roughly 8 goals since his signing. Especially galling when Real missed out on the title by just 2 points to Atletico last term. But after 8 game weeks this season, he's already managed his best return in a Madrid shirt, with 5 strikes and 2 assists so far. And while that's largely down to some hot finishing, with almost double his XG tally, those underlying numbers have also taken a leap forward, from the 0.44 per 90 he produced in each of the last 3 years, to a huge 0.75. That's the difference between performing at the level of someone like Conor Gallagher and matching the performance of a star like Romelu Lukaku. And it's placed him second in Spain to Karim Benzema. The simple explanation for this massive increase is the number of shots Vinicius now takes. Under Zidane, Vinicius was clearly discouraged from shooting, with the team instead focused on funneling the ball into Benzema as much as possible, with the Frenchman taking around 25% of the team's shots between 2019 and the end of last campaign. As a result, Vinicius was constrained, seeing his number of efforts per game drop from an outstanding 4.4 in his first year to 1.9 in his third. And that wasn't entirely unfair, as he could be erratic in front of goal, generally getting under 40% of those attempts on target. But Ancelotti runs a more equitable attack, with Benzema now down to 20% of the total output, and this renewed freedom to try his luck has pushed Vinicius' numbers back into elite territory at 3.8 per 90. While his accuracy has come on too, with 57% of those shots ending in a goal or a save. Crucially, that does seem sustainable, as the winger is not simply adding pot shots from distance, but quality chances at short range. His attempts on goal now coming from an average of 13.5 yards out. A marginal improvement on last year's 13.9, but closer to goal for the 4th consecutive season, showing that he is either making better decisions or has simply developed the ability to get into space in more dangerous areas. It's probably a little bit of both. Ancelotti has talked about working on Vinicius' efficiency, encouraging him to make a decision in the space of 2 touches, and his passing has gone from subpar to hugely beneficial, with 2.4 chances created per match, second best in the squad to Hazard, and up from a previous best of 1.4. He also passes into the box 2.2 times a game, a trait we normally associate with high levels of skill and vision, and in this case making the 21-year-old the equal of top-class playmaking forwards like Mo Salah, Thomas Muller, and Angel Di Maria. However, Vinicius is unlikely ever to be the passing hub of a super team like those guys, with his pace and movement making him more effective running off the defensive line or taking on fullbacks. Always a strong dribbler, the Brazilian completes 3.5 take-ons a game at present, roughly his average across his time in Madrid, but these dribbles are more effective than ever. While last season he carried the ball 15 yards forward or more 9 times a game, already a stellar stat, he now does so 12 times a game, and he's more skillful and less reliant on push and go dribbling than before, with greater success in the congested areas of the field. In 2021, he carried the ball into the box 1.8 times per 90, but in the early exchanges of the current campaign, that's risen to 4, a number beaten by just 2 players across Europe's top 5 leagues, Manchester City's Jack Grealish and Adama Traore, perhaps the most talented dribbler we've ever seen in the Prem. So Vinicius can get off shots, has learned to pass, and has become a more effective ball carrier than ever. But what about that Benzema quote? Well, maybe the most positive aspect of Vinicius' season so far is the change in how he's viewed by his teammates. Through the first 8 weeks of 21-22, the Brazilian has been the target of a pass roughly 60 times a game, the second most in the squad behind Luka Modric, showing that attacks are starting to flow through him, and with good effect, as Real is simply a much more dangerous prospect when he's on the field, producing around 0.9 xg more per 90 minutes with Vinicius than without him. Whether this is something Ancelotti has done or simply Vinicius maturing is hard to tell. Young players tend to make a series of leaps in their early 20s, and the forward now has over 120 games under his belt, making it a logical time for his development to surge forward. But it could hardly have come at a better time. Last year, Real scored the same number of goals as Atleti, they missed out on Kylian Mbappe in the summer, and Benzema is now 33, meaning the attack could easily have faltered entirely and handed the impetus to Atletico Madrid, last year's champions, making it harder for Real to convince Mbappe to come when his contract expires in 2022. Instead, the club is reaping a spectacular harvest from the expensive seeds they sowed back in 2017, and they've recognised what they have in their number 20, looking to renew the contract which currently sees him earn just €62,000 a week, and even trying to raise his buyout clause from an already obscene €500 million. In a different world, Vinicius might have been competing for Europa League football with Arsenal this season, but instead he's re-established himself as one of the premier talents in the sport. And if he continues on his current trajectory, he may not only find himself teammates with Mbappe next season, but could one day stand alongside the Frenchman on the Ballon d'Or podium. So that's our take on how Vinicius Junior has revived his career at Real Madrid. But what do you think? Will he ever be a 20-goal a season forward? Let us know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, drop us a like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and you'll never miss an upload. We'll see you next time.